Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Hi, welcome to Downsizing Roadmap. We are here again for another episode. Today we're talking about downsizing out of state. So we do see this with clients. They're in one location, and part of that retirement or downsizing plan involves going to a whole brand new location.
Which in this weather makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I'm asking myself why I live here right
Yes.
now. We are in Dayton, Ohio, and it is very cold here.
Yes, I'm Heather Fisher.
I'm Jody Roscoe.
And we are making plans as we speak to escape
somewhere warm.
the 0 degree temperatures today, right?
My cousin sent me a little reel and it was like, why do I live here? I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yes, so we're battling the cold. Sometimes the weather is that motivation. Sometimes it's, where your adult kids have landed, and that might be somewhere else, and you want to get back to being closer to them or grandkids. Sometimes it's a later in life job change that you're just moving to a different path there, and lots of reasons. But
we've seen people who, later in life job change, their job is mobile, so they can be anywhere, and sometimes they're like, let's make a new chapter. Let's pick somewhere we've always loved to go, or something like that. We do love it here. We do. It's just on these super cold days.
We love Ohio all days except today. It's cold, very cold. So making that move, any move, we talk over and over again about challenges that come. Moving's just hard in general, all phases of life.
Yeah. And an out-of-state move is bigger because, there are some practical, emotional, financial things that you need to kind of think about, like tax implications or cost of living might be different. You're going to have to start all over with your, who's going to cut your hair and who's going to be your doctor.
Your support network.
Yep, all of those kind of things. So that's what we're going to talk about today, just kind of different things to be thinking about if you're thinking about moving out of state, which can be very exciting and fun.
Yeah, the logistics are one thing to get through, and then it really is a great change and can be a whole new path. So we talked a little bit about the reasons why people might be considering that move. Maybe we can dive a little bit into the financial pieces that might come along with that beyond the housing costs.
Yeah. So, just back to the reasons, we get a lot of people whose kids move all over for their jobs, and then they're like, wait, now we aren't, we aren't there to see the grandkids, or we're far away from them. So I think that's something that we've had a lot. Sometimes we get people that are just moving to be somewhere warmer, but mostly I feel like there's some reasons like that you land somewhere else. So
yeah, there's some years when your younger adult kids are kind of migrating all over themselves for college and maybe a few job changes themselves, but it gets to a point where most people kind of make that settled move, and it may be back close to where you are. They may have come back your direction, but sometimes it's near where they went to school, or where they have found that long-term career job.
They're finally settled a little bit.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, it's actually more affordable wherever, you're looking than where you live now. So we live in an area that's very affordable already. But if you don't, maybe you're going to a place that's going to afford you a different kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, let your retirement income work a little easier for you to make it, life just a little easier and not those financial pressures.
Yeah. And you want to you want this to be a choice, not something that you feel like that you're having to do. So the best time to make a move is when you're choosing it, right? And so out of state feels like people are very purposeful about that when they're choosing out of state choices to move. So
yeah, I feel like there's two kinds of people, maybe two, that some people vacation year after year to the same places.
Yeah.
And we were like that as kids. We always went to the East Coast, to the shore, and always went to the same place. And my mom would say, I want to live here someday. And, and I'm sure if those choices would have come up, she would have chosen where we always went.
My mom too.
At the shore. And we see people that go to Florida, and they've already started to establish, those connections and that familiarity with where they go.
Right.
And then there's the people that are very adventuresome, and they're vacationing somewhere new and somewhere spontaneous, and they
They're
might
like, we love it here.
Yeah.
We're going to stay.
Yeah, and they've been there once and all of that. So it may be an out-of-state move to somewhere you're a little familiar with. And it may just be, choosing an adventure and going to check out something new.
Yeah, for my mom's family, they went to South Carolina since she was like 7 years old. And so that is a million times where she would move.
She would have gone,
Mm-hmm. Yep, where she would have been. So top inbound retirement states are Florida, Arizona, North Carolina, and Texas. Not to mean that you need to go to one of those places, but those are the top ones. And I love North Carolina. It's beautiful there. We've been all over the country for various reasons, but North Carolina is a really pretty place.
Yeah.
Not to say the other ones aren't, but
I've never been to Arizona on the list there. So.
Nice and warm.
Yeah.
If you need to be warm, Arizona is going to be warm. There are some mountains in Arizona that aren't quite as warm, but yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so financially, what does this look like? So it's more, more than just housing costs. So state tax implications, income tax. For example, like Florida has no income tax versus California or New York. If you're still working, that could make a difference for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing, the inheritance and estate tax differences, for the states that you're considering, definitely a great time in the planning stage to talk to your financial planner, talk to your accountant, and, just ask those questions, the what ifs, if I do this, if I sell this home, should I buy there, should I rent there? All of those pieces can just have different implications in the long term that you want to make sure you're familiar with before you make bold choices and quick decisions.
Yeah, my dad moved here to be near our family, so and he's probably really questioning that thought process right now when it's freezing out. But he moved from Las Vegas, and he was just shocked at what the property taxes were here, even though it's very affordable to live here. They were so different. That was so different for him. So, you want to just talk to somebody about what that looks like.
Yeah, it's a full picture because states just handle things differently, and saving on one tax in one place, it may hit you in a different place that you weren't considering.
Right, sales tax might be different or something, but if you're looking at it in your property, like it's money that you're paying out that you may or may not have thought about.
Yeah, might not be used to. So definitely need to look at that full picture. Healthcare considerations, making sure that whatever Medicare plan you might be on, or supplemental plans, or
health insurance in general.
Health insurance from an employer. If you're still working, are they going to transfer and not lose coverage or change the amount out of pocket that you're looking at? That's a huge thing to consider. Healthcare coverage is so important, and making sure that you can cover those costs.
And the availability and the quality of the providers in the new area. So we go up to New Hampshire, and it's just more rural. And so not that there aren't good doctors there, but it's more rural.
Yeah, choosing an area where all of that would be convenient and accessible is an important part of the choice.
So also cost of living comparisons, like housing in itself can be very, very different. But also utilities and insurance, hurricanes, fire zones, flood zones. Like what are you looking at there, and what does that insurance look like? Because that could be a big nugget, and in some places insurance is really difficult right now. Yeah,
as people look towards those warmer areas near water, this is a huge part of that equation, because unfortunately our weather has been more dramatic the last few years, and insurance rates have definitely changed, and making sure that that's part of what you can afford.
Right. Even groceries and gas. I mean, if you're going to Hawaii, that's going to be a little bit higher bill for you, depending on what you're looking at. So all of it. So it's just a big picture of what you're looking at, not only housing cost.
Yeah, and then the logistics of the move itself, long distance moving companies, knowing what that cost is going to be to have those resources. Are you going to need them to fully pack your house, and then the transit of getting it from one location to the next, unpacking, and, finding those resources at both ends. It won't be the same if you have a move manager on one end.
Yeah.
Do they have a counterpart to help you unpack and get set up at the next location, and just making sure that you have those resources that could go, longer distances, or refer you to someone on the other end.
To help you when you get there. Yeah. I would get 2 or 3 quotes. Some moving companies do it by weight, and some do it by volume. And think about, are you going to have to store furniture at all once you get there? Or are you going to have some place right away to move it right into? And I will say, since I personally have moved across the country, I moved to Dayton from California in my 20s, and I brought way more than I should have. So I would say really, really be brutal with what you're taking and what is important to you. And if you're taking furniture, the vibe of areas are different, and you get there and that furniture doesn't even seem to fit in the new area.
Coastal vibe versus a rural, farmhouse vibe, and all the things.
And you might just be over it, you would like, if you're making a fresh start, maybe you need, and so don't pay by volume or weight to move things that you don't absolutely love.
I think something to consider there is the cost of buying new versus the cost of transporting. You might be surprised that it's more cost effective. Some of the kitchen things or smaller furniture, things like that, might be more cost effective to buy new versus moving and packing and having it taken a long distance. So definitely try to get those quotes and figure that out.
Yeah. So I would, spend some time thinking about finances all over the board on what you're looking at and how it might be different, just to make sure that there are no surprises once you get there. That's the worst case scenario, is that you get somewhere and you're like, wow, this costs way more than I expected it to, or, something along those lines.
Yeah, and part of that picture that we, specialize in, that real estate, if you're moving from one city to another, making sure that you have a real estate agent on both ends. If you're going to be buying again in that next community, just that strategy and that timing of selling one property and buying the next, making sure, that your agents are in line, and, starting with a great agent on the house that you're leaving, and making sure they have great communication. We always want to have a great relationship with a referral partner on the other end in a city, just to make sure that timeline works out, and that your funds are available for the next place you need to live, and that all of those timelines work out, so that you're not homeless for a few weeks or crammed into a rental or an Airbnb and a weekly stay hotel with your truck out in the parking lot. We don't want those things to happen. So making sure that you line up those resources, again, on both sides is so important.
Yeah, reach out to us if you need help with finding a great agent. And you can also Google cost of living calculator, and you can find some calculators that can help you figure out what the cost of living would be in different areas of the country, if you're working on your finances. So the next thing to think about is building or replacing your support systems. And I think this is really important. We had some friends who moved out of state a while ago, and they ended up coming back because this was their struggle, is, all their friends were here, and, building a new whole, not just doctors, and because you do have to do that, all of those things that, hair and where you're going to go and do all of those things. But, your friends as well. Like what, who are you going to be hanging out with? What are you going to be spending your time doing? People those are, I think, a harder, you can find a new doctor, but I think finding new friends or, people that you're going to socialize with is a little bit harder. So
yeah, especially when you've been in your current home a long time, just the whole neighborhood and, your social circle can be people at different clubs and activities you do. It can be your neighbors next door. It can be people that you've worked with in the past. I mean, that circle grows as we get older, and then to be starting fresh again, it's a challenge.
Yeah, that's a challenge. So be ready for that challenge. So really start thinking about what kind of social outlets are you going to do? Is it your church? Are you going to take classes? Do you have hobbies that you're interested in where you can join groups? Senior center, like where are you thinking, hey, I can go, meet some people. It might be your neighbors, you might be the new, fun house on the block, whatever that is. But just know that that's something that's going to have to be rebuilt, and be ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're moving close to family, on the other end of that move, that can be a huge starting point. But you also want to be careful not to build family tension by having, if it's your adult kids and grandkids, you don't want that to be your only outlet, because you're coming into when they have a full, busy life as well, and you just don't want that tension. So even if you know that they're there, and I'm sure they're so happy to have you close by and you'll be able to have so many family memories, make sure you have some other outlets as well that you're starting to build to fill your calendar.
Because honestly, that's a lot of pressure on your adult kids to feel like they're the ones responsible for you, all of your social interaction.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Not that they don't want you, they do. But also what's your, back to being dreamy, guys, because that's number one. And that's what we're doing right now, is thinking, forward thinking about how it is. But what's your life going to look like with your kids and grandkids, and what else? What is that future going to look like?
Yeah. So I think, there are some online places where you can start to find the people who live in different areas next door, or Facebook groups for particular neighborhoods or cities can start to be a good place to see just what's going on and events that are coming up in, so many small towns have such great fun activities going on.
Right. So then also, like, who's your local professional support going to be, right? Your doctors, your handyman, your financial advisor, is somebody going to clean your house? Who's going to do your landscaping? Who are you going to call when you need help with all of these things?
Yeah.
And so I think, some local Facebook groups are good for that too. Hey, my garage door's broken. Who should I call?
Who should I call?
Yeah. So
you'll hear the good and the bad
Right.
real quick.
Right. But yeah, and if your family already lives there, then they may have some great sources already. But again, just know that these are things that you're going to have to rebuild and figure out,
Yeah.
including things like, where's my favorite grocery store, and how, like, what am I going to do? All of it. Like, it's all, if you've lived somewhere often for a long time, all that stuff is just stuff that you take for granted. Like, you don't think about, oh my gosh, like, I know where to get, the best poinsettias. I know where to get, like, whatever it is, like,
Yeah.
and all of those places. And if you go somewhere new, it's all fresh and new, learning. And sometimes that's fun. But just know that that's something you're going to have to work on.
Yeah.
And maybe you consider renting first to test the waters, especially, if you're going to be near family, maybe you rent for 6 months or something until you figure out, this is the part of town I want to live in. Even if you're sure that's where you want to go, there's different areas of town that you might want to look at. So,
Yeah, that's a great way to ease in and make sure you're making the best choice there. So a move like this could bring a ton of excitement, but it also brings uncertainty because change is hard. We talk about that a lot. So there's going to be some emotions that I think all of us would go through, and you need to acknowledge them and get through them. You might feel grief and displacement, even when you're excited and there's, everything you wanted on the other side. There's still just a period of change where things feel a little off, you're not quite settled yet, you're feeling emotional about that.
Might
That's
feel a
normal.
little like loss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think people who even just move from one house to another house feel in the same town feel like that sometimes. They're
Yeah.
miss the old house, miss the. I've been in my house. I think it's 5 years now, and there are still things that I can picture where they are in the old house, and I don't know where they are in the new house. Right
Yeah.
off the bat, and I'm like, oh, that is so frustrating. Like if I was in my old house, I know exactly where that thing is. And so, there's and I don't feel loss around it, but like there's, you just remember, you have memories, and there's memories there. And in the beginning, it did feel like, oh gosh, we're somewhere new, and the old house, you have a little bit of lost memories, for it. So
Yeah. Usually, the best way to start getting over that is to establish your new routines quickly, your daily routines. Having coffee in the same place at home or somewhere else, and daily walks to get used to your new neighborhood. All of that starts to help not only meet people and begin to have things feel familiar, but just gives you that comfort of a routine. Is always helpful.
I mean, you could potentially be feeling like the outsider in a new place, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody. I don't know who to talk to. Go get a cup of coffee. Go be in a place where people are meeting and, joining, and kind of just make yourself part of it.
Yeah,
Maybe you find a place that you walk every day where other people are walking, or maybe it's a dog park, or maybe, find some places where you feel like other people are around.
Yeah, absolutely. Can stave off that loneliness feeling of a new place.
Maybe you feel guilty because you left some of your other family members at home, or maybe you didn't go where family is and you left everybody, who knows? But maybe there's guilt over that, or maybe there's doubts about whether it being the right decision. And I think some of that is just give yourself some time to adapt. So research shows it takes 6 to 12 months to truly settle into a new environment, whether that being a house you moved in across the town or a house you moved in across the country. So reframe it as, it's not like if it was the wrong decision, you're going to go back to something. It's kind of like, okay, this is my my next chapter, and we're going to create something new here. So what is that going to look like?
Yeah. What ways can I embrace that?
Yeah. So, sometimes it helps for people to journal that, what does my ideal day in my new home look like? What am I doing? Who am I seeing? How do I feel when I wake up? If it was my mom and she could wake up and hear the ocean, she would love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jody and I always encourage this way at the front as that first step. And if you did that, now's the time to revisit that.
Yeah.
What did I write down? Why did I make this move? And if you're not quite, if it hasn't quite all the way come together 100%, what little tweaks do you need to make? To make it exactly what you dreamed about. And if you skipped that step, it's not too late. Do it now, and, get those emotions settled by really envisioning how you want it to look, and then going out and, fake it till you make it. Start.
Find your people.
Find your people, find your routines, find your day.
Yeah.
And when you leave yourself open to that opportunity, that great life and those friendships and all of the things you loved about home, they'll start to come there too.
Yeah. Yep. So, so smart planning, if you're going to try to avoid that regret is, to do, again, it's research up front, right? So first you're going to do your dreamy thing and figure out what is it that you want. And then you're going to spend some really quality research time. So, visit, if you're going somewhere, visit more than one season. So if that's somewhere you go every winter, go in the summer and see if it's really too hot.
Yeah.
Or if it's, a summer place, go in the winter and be like, oh, can I deal with what this is like?
Yeah, absolutely. Is it deserted, and you want it to be the way it is? all, when you're there at
Yeah.
the peak time, or do you find that now, oh wait, I'm here at the peak time and all the vacationers and kids and
Yeah.
everybody, and I can't enjoy it as much. So
Yeah.
definitely cities like that can change.
Yeah, so visit more than one season, and what your family likes if they're there might not be exactly what you like. So just go figure that out for yourself instead of just relying on their opinion. And rent an Airbnb. You could rent an Airbnb for an extended time. You can be there for a month, or a short-term rental, midterm rental. There's midterm rentals, so you can figure out, you could be there for a month or two and figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, I know a couple in their retirement years that knows my family, and they decided to sell their house, and they were going to move to an RV, into an RV and travel the country, but I'm not sure they did enough testing that out. And so they did that, and they sold the house and gave away or sold furniture, and just moved into the RV lifestyle without really taking it for enough of a test drive as they needed. And I think they lasted maybe a year, maybe two, and then really just decided this is too much togetherness, too small, too, not too much, but it was harder to unwind that. And I think maybe an extended rent that for a month or two would have, alleviated a lot of the headaches they had on then trying to rebuild back into, a home in one location.
My grandparents did that too. They did not sell the house, but they did buy, the Winnebago. And, they were, my grandpa thought he wanted to just tour the whole country while my grandma cooked on the little baby stove and all the things. And they did. I mean, I think they enjoyed spending some time doing that, but it was, it wasn't going to be their lifestyle forever. So I think that they did appreciate it and enjoy it, but it was, good that they figured that out before they went all the way in.
Yeah, threw everything to the wind. Yeah, so that goes back to, having a backup plan or, an escape hatch from the plan. Do you have a way to test it and a way to make sure that that's what you want before, you're across the country?
And can you afford to move again if that isn't going to work out? Again, you're going to give it time, and you're going to put a lot of thought and research into it before you go. And we're not trying to be pessimistic. We want to make sure there's just a backup plan. But what is that? And just know what your backup plan is and what that might cost if you're really, really hate it once you get there for whatever reason. We don't find that people mostly do.
No.
It's rare.
No. And I think there's tools if it doesn't feel quite right. Back to being dreamy and reaching out for, a routine and social life and all of that. I think there's ways to just give it the time it needs to become everything you wanted it to be.
Yeah. And if it didn't work out, it was still some great adventure, right? I mean, honestly, no wrongs, right?
Absolutely.
So I guess, figuring out, is this your next right move? Reflect on those pros, write those pros down, write down what you think the challenges might be, figure out if those, outweigh, right? We're going to do the pros and cons list, and, what's motivating your move? Because I think that when we find that people come back, the motivation there wasn't strong enough.
Yeah. And, a move across, out of state or a move further away, really takes a lot of conversations at the front end. If you're part of a couple, talking with your partner and making sure you're both on the same page for that move, and really sharing, your dreams and your motivation with your family, that might be giving you pushback and feeling like, oh my gosh, why would you want to do that, Mom? Why would you want to do that, Dad? Really having that clear vision of here's the reasons and here's my motivation, and whether that puts you closer to them or gives an opportunity for them to vacation and come see you in your new spot. If it's your dream and that you're ready to do that, that's okay. Just have those conversations up front and let everybody know, why you're choosing that, and go for it.
Yeah. That it can be such a fun adventure, and it can really energize you and, create a whole new lifestyle. And so that can be really great if that's something that you're looking for. So again, if you need somebody to help you figure out what housing looks like wherever you're thinking about going, reach out to us at downsizingroadmap.com. We can help you find somebody and start writing those journals, start thinking, start getting dreamy about what that could look like in the cold of Dayton, Ohio. This isn't exactly the right time to be doing that.
Yes. We appreciate you listening, and we'd love if you left us a review and checked out our other episodes, and we'll be back next week. Thank you. Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.